My life used to be completely unorganized and chaotic, and I felt totally unqualified to run a home. But over the years, learning these 5 simple biblical habits organized my life and helped our home run smoother. By the end of this video, you'll know how to build these same habits into your own rhythms so that your days feel calmer, your home flows more smoothly, and you'll feel more equipped so that you can love your role as a homemaker. To start this first point out, I'm going to read you a couple of Proverbs. Proverbs 31:27 says, "She looks well to the ways of her household and does not eat the bread of idleness." And then Proverbs 6:6-8 says, "Go to the ant, O sluggard, consider her ways and be wise. Without having any chief or officer or ruler, she prepares her bread in summer." So this basically talks about being diligent in the home and being wise in how we order our days. And one of the things that really helped organize my life was to anchor my days with a morning and an evening rhythm. We adopted our girls when our firstborn was 15 months old. Needless to say, I did not know what I was doing, and my goal at that time was basically just to make it till lunchtime. But once I learned how to anchor my day in these 2 rhythms, it gave a lot more predictability to the day and made it feel more purposeful. The beauty of this is you're deciding ahead of time what needs to happen, which takes away the decision fatigue. And then you plod through that as the day goes on. For me, I'm starting my morning routine with something called ROOTS, which is an acronym that I'll get to in a minute. And then I have an evening rhythm that we all work through together as a family where we're wrapping up the house and preparing for the next day. So for morning routines, the acronym ROOTS stands for Read the Word, Open in Prayer, Observe Truth, Tend to the temple or tend to the body, and then set the tone. And this is largely based on a highly recognized book called The Miracle Morning, but I shifted it toward Christian homemakers. And Roots is also another nod towards my course, the Rooted Rhythms Collective, which is coming up soon. So reading the word and opening in prayer, that's pretty self-explanatory, but observing truth essentially means meditating on what's true about me in Christ and who I'm praying towards becoming. If I'm praying to be a more patient mother, I am meditating on Bible verses that talk about what the Lord is doing in me and what he promises to do in me. And tending the temple is basically movement of some kind. I try to do a little bit of exercise every morning if possible, and that's essentially what that means. And then setting the tone just means starting the day with a win, is what I like to say. Make my bed is a given, and then check my planner and see what's going on for the day. So it's super simple. It can be as long or as short as you want to, but that is a morning routine that I think is really helpful for myself personally, and maybe it can be helpful for you too. When you're thinking about an evening routine, you want to wrap up the day, but you also need to be thinking forward to the next day and what's going to help set yourself up for success the next day. So for example, like I said, wrapping up the kitchen, going ahead and making coffee, and then I like to go ahead and write in my planner and pick a couple priorities from my to-do list that I need to take care of the next day. It's essentially a time blocking method where you have a list of activities that you want to do in a certain period in the morning and a certain period of the evening. It's simple, it doesn't need to be overcomplicated, but it makes such a big difference in making the whole day feel more organized when you have the day bookended with routines that help stabilize your day. This next layer is so important that it deserves its own section. Because honestly, for me, without it, things still felt like they were falling apart. If you want a little bit more step-by-step help in creating routines like this for your home, I created a free mini training that will do just that, and I'm going to link that down below. Meal times used to feel so frustrating for me because they happened 3 times a day and there was just a lot of chaos that surrounded it. But with a little bit of structure, it became one of the most stabilizing parts of our home. Having mealtime anchors is one way that we keep the house tidy and less chaotic, and the way that I've systematized it, it helps me get food on the table without being frantic. There are 3 types of rhythms around meals that have been such a blessing to our home. Once a week, I will go ahead and map out a meal plan. I do this on Sunday evenings, and we'll talk more about this in a little bit when I expound on this. But on Sunday evenings, I will do a very simple meal plan. I have a page in the back of my notebook where I have listed a whole bunch of meals that are easy so that I'm not having to really reinvent the wheel. I do try to save money and not let things go to waste by looking in the fridge and seeing what we have, what needs to be used, and then make a meal from that. And then whatever ingredients we don't have, I'll flip over to my shopping list and go ahead and write that down so that I'm not having to think about this during the week. The decisions are already made ahead of time. I talk about this a little bit more in detail in my YouTube video about my notebook. And if you want to check that out, I'll link that down below. You can do that whenever you would like, but I'm going to go ahead and move on. So some mealtime habits that happen each day is in the morning, before the house wakes up or right around breakfast, I'll go ahead and pull out the meat from the freezer downstairs because I've already decided ahead of time what's happening for dinner. I don't have to think about it. I go ahead and pull it out really quickly, and I'm going to let it thaw throughout the day so that I'm not scrambling at night. And then at lunchtime, that's a good time to chop up your vegetables and go ahead and prepare ingredients of some kind, especially if you have small children. Just pacing yourself throughout the day makes it a lot easier to get dinner on the table in a calmer way, and you're not as stressed out. And when it comes time to actually make dinner, I would start dinner a good hour, hour and a half before, depending on what you're making. We keep it pretty simple around here, but I still like to leave plenty of margin so that I can tend to children because that's inevitable. And I also like to be able to invite a child to help me with dinner if they want to, because my children love helping me make dinner. It's a good time to bond. But I don't like to do it if I'm in a rush. So you want to leave plenty of time to tend to your children or invite them in. Another thing that is super helpful to anchor onto meal times is tidying. We do a 10-minute tidy and set the table for dinner or lunch for every meal. So basically, while I'm making lunch or dinner, the kids do that while I am taking care of preparing meals. And yes, children are still able to come help me with dinner if they want to. Again, it should only take 10 minutes or so, 10, 15 minutes. If it's an absolute disaster, it takes longer. And then whenever they're finished, they can come help me with dinner. But that helps keep the chaos under control. It's especially helpful before rest time and before dinner time when daddy gets home, to have the house in a calmer, more peaceful state, and you're not having to scramble or to do it all on your own. It's just really nice when you have it as a family dynamic. If you would like to be a part of the tidying up, you totally can do that, especially if your children are exceptionally small. I actually would highly recommend that rather than expecting them to stay focused. But as your kids get a little bit older, they can take on some of that responsibility on their own, and it frees you to make meals or do other things that you need to do. So having the morning and the evening anchor points and then organizing some things around meal times made a noticeable difference. But even with good rhythms in place, there's one area that quietly affects everything else: your physical health. Because when you're depleted mentally, physically, emotionally, it is a lot harder to stick to the routines that you've worked so hard to build. And that's where this next habit comes in. Take it from me, you can have every routine in place, but if you're running on fumes, everything just feels a lot harder. And these routines do help carry the weight, especially when things are hard. Running on fumes is part of life, but we don't need to stay there if we can help it. For a long time, I lived in survival mode. I was foggy, tense, snapping at people I love, and just constantly feeling like something was off. I thought maybe I just needed to try harder or be more disciplined, push through, but I've come to see that I was missing something deeper. I was not treating my body like it mattered, as if it was something that God entrusted to me. 1 Corinthians 6:19-20 says that our body is a temple of the Holy Spirit. And I was treating mine like it was just disposable, like it didn't matter. And that is totally wrong. For us, the last few years have been pretty heavy. We lost 3 babies back to back before my 5th child was born, and that was incredibly, incredibly hard and sad. Sleep got thrown off. My hormones have been all out of whack. I stopped moving my body the way that I used to. I was actually really active before, and then I didn't really care as much about putting nourishing foods into my body, which is so unlike me, if you only knew. So ultimately, I haven't really been fueling myself very well either. But recently, something shifted. I've been slowly getting back into exercise and trying to do better at prioritizing sleep. Usually I talk about things like this on YouTube after it's been a while, but this is actually right here and now. I told my husband just the other day that I have felt so bad for so long that I needed it to change. I need to take it seriously. When I used to work in the office as a nurse practitioner, I did medical nutrition counseling. And so I told my husband, I need to basically make a plan for myself like I would for somebody else and just commit to it for some time and see what happens, because I've been feeling so bad for so long and I'm tired of it. I want to be more present for my family. And so yes, that's why I'm talking about this today. It's really important as we're making systems for our home to make systems to promote our health. And that is very important to organizing the life. So what does that look like for me to take it seriously now? It's simple. I'm starting a 90-day challenge, not to be extreme, but to finally systematize how I'm caring for my health. For me, I'm focusing on the basics: sleep, exercise, real food, and a few things to support my body from the inside out. I've started trying some of Neolife supplements as part of that because I know that they work. Not because they're a quick fix, but because I know that they're high quality, they're time tested, and they line up with what I know about nutrition science, and I just desperately need some support. So we'll see what happens. If you're curious or want to follow along or even join me, I'll be sharing the process over on Instagram for accountability's sake, and I'll link a couple of the tools that I'm using that you can download and print for free in case you would find that helpful. Because the truth is, you cannot build a steady home if the homemaker is constantly running on empty. So we got to fuel our bodies, systematize our health. Taking better care of your body gives you the energy that you need to take care of your home with joy. But it's just as important to know how to focus that energy. One of the biggest mistakes that I used to make was trying to do everything every day. I never really felt a sense of accomplishment because there was always more to do. And that's always true, but you got to set yourself up for success. But once I made this next shift, my whole week felt lighter. It's one of the simplest habits that I teach, but it's also one of the most powerful. Let me show you how it works. Let's talk about weekly theme days. Instead of trying to juggle everything every single day, theme days give your week a natural rhythm to get things done. They help you focus on one category of work at a time, like errands or laundry or deep cleaning, so that all these tasks stop bleeding into all the corners of every day. You can feel less scattered and just more focused. The beauty is it's customizable for every home. So to figure out what would be best for your home, you just need to think through what are the things that constantly happen every single week that really needs to find a home. And if any of those tasks are related, you can group them together. So for example, you can have an office day where you're budgeting, paying bills, doing homeschool planning, grading, things like that. You could have a kitchen day where you either focus on some cleaning and organization, baking, just anything related to the kitchen. You could have a day for deep cleaning if you are the kind of person who likes to clean on one day rather than spacing throughout the week. You could have a laundry day. Errands day can be, grocery runs, appointments. I actually really love trying to group all of our outings on one day if possible so that I don't have to leave the home every day or multiple days a week because that really is disruptive to our family's rhythms. So those are some examples of things that you could incorporate into your week. Oh, another thing that I would recommend is to have a day or two throughout the week where you have what I call a sharpen the saw day. It's basically where you don't have anything necessarily set that you have to do, but you can go at a more relaxed pace. You can take care of odds and ends that inevitably come up in every week, or you can help the other days go more smoothly and maybe take off a task or two off of those days. I like to do that on my Tuesdays and Sunday. This is all very flexible per household. But one thing that I would say for every Christian household that it would be a massive blessing is letting a Sabbath day be part of your week. That has highly blessed our family. Going out on Sundays for us with a lot of small children is just not, it's restful for the soul to be at church, but it's not restful to the body. And we just like to have a full day of having relaxed family time together. So Saturday is a day where we do that, play games on those days, or we might go on a hike together. We do reading. Having that day set aside each week has greatly blessed our home. It's blessed my energy as I'm going throughout the week and working really hard every day to know that I can look forward to a day of rest. But even with theme days in place, I would wake up on Monday morning feeling scattered without this last piece. Proverbs 16:9 says, "The heart of man plans his way, but the Lord establishes his steps." And there are many verses in the Proverbs that talk about being prudent, and that's what this last step is about. I've kind of already touched on this in other points, but I'm going to expound on this here. After church, we'll come home and I will grab a cup of hot tea and sit down and do our weekly planning. I used to not see the value in doing Sunday planning. Like I said, Monday would hit and I would wake up scrambling. I heard someone mention that they do something called a Sunday reset. And at first I thought it would be way too involved and not something that I wanted to do on a Sunday. But in reality, it only took like 30 minutes and it made such a difference in our week. At one point, I decided to try it, and since then, I've never looked back because it's been so effective, and it's simple. So now our Sunday reset looks like this. It's only a 30-minute window or so. It's where my husband and I will sit down and go over the week and talk about what's coming. I'll plan my meals like I've already talked about. I'll look at appointments to get a handle on things that have to happen that week, and then I will write out my to-do list and shopping list. I go into this in depth in my notebooking video that I've already mentioned. Again, I'm going to link that down below if you want to check out that whole rhythm and how I do it. It is super simple, but it completely changes how the whole week feels and runs. I do it with an open hand, knowing that the Lord is the one who establishes our steps, but the planning still makes a huge difference. If you want help building rhythms that bring peace to your home and help you truly enjoy your role as a mother and a homemaker, keep an eye out. My free masterclass is coming soon. In the meantime, grab my free mini training to help get you started. It'll not only help you have a more peaceful and ordered home, but you'll be the first to know when the masterclass goes live. If this video was helpful for you, don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps my channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.